consciousness of I am pulsating through the entire universe. So I looked up truthunity.net to see what this metaphysical, that particular perspective about I am is. So we've gone from be still and know that I am God to be still and know that I am. And in my notes here I have that capitalized, that great I am. So from the metaphysical perspective, the I am is our spiritual identity, the real or Christ mind of each individual. God is I am, and man, his offspring, is also I am. I am is the indwelling spirit, the divine within. And this is a quote from that site. The I am is the metaphysical name of the spiritual self, as distinguished from the human self. One is governed by spirit, the other by personal will. I am is eternal, without beginning or ending, the true spiritual man whom God made in his or her image and likeness. Individual consciousness is like an eddy in the ocean. I love this metaphor here. All the elements that are found in the ocean are also found in the eddy, and every eddy may, in due course, receive and give forth all that is in the ocean. So when we allow ourselves to be in this space of I am, we can become the ocean with all the power and meaning that holds. So again, you might close your eyes and just listen to this phrase a few times, allowing yourself to move into that inner divinity that is the great I am. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I am. So then we can begin to look at this word I. Be still and know that I. So we can expand this sense of being connected to the great I am by looking at the Aramaic that was undoubtedly the spoken language of Jesus and his people, so that we can more fully understand what this I might mean. So in Aramaic, spiritual concepts were intended to have multiple points of view. The intellectual point of view, which was the face value or literal meaning, the metaphorical perspective, and then the universal or mystical perspective. There's no set answer, but rather an unveiling, a revealing as we contemplate what these teachings might have for us within them, what they might reveal to us. So for the mystic, no one view excludes the other view. They all work together within us. We listen, we study, we read, and then we sit and see what comes up for us so that we might have a new and deeper understanding. So often in the Aramaic, this word I is repeated twice. Ena, 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 ena. And there's different possible interpretations. One of them is the essence of individuality, the separate person that is me. Then there is also the I within the I. So the small individual self with a small s within this greater self, capital S, the Atman, that's used in Indian philosophy. Or, as we discussed above, it can be this great I am. So when we start to see this word I with these multiple meanings, it no longer separates. When, Jesus spent a lot of time saying things about I. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the sun, I'm whatever. But when we see it in this larger context, it's no longer about Jesus, the individual person. It's more just someone who's really tapped into this greater I and is speaking through him, which is a very different way of listening. So, for example, I am the way. This word urha, the Aramaic word for way, is related to one of our words for light. So it can mean the light that uncovers a path, shows a hidden possibility, or reveals a practical way that was previously unknown. So that's a very different way of understanding I am the way. All it means is I am this light that can reveal for you, from within you, what was previously hidden. a way forward, a hidden possibility. So again, I invite you to just close your eyes for a moment. Be still and know that I. Imagine yourself as this expansive I that is the light that uncovers a path, shows a hidden possibility, that reveals the unknown. Be still and know that I. We all hold within us this capacity to shine the light for others. We do it every single day, whether we know it or not. So the more we can tap into this greater I, the more light we have to shine. So then we continue on with this practice. Be still and know that. When I thought of that, I thought of that wonderful saying, Tat Tvat Asi. Tatvam Asi, Tatvam Asi, which means thou art that, or that thou art. So what is that? I'm going to read for you from this wonderful book. Are any of you familiar with Eknath Easwaran? He's an Indian, I think he's, or at least was, I'm not sure if he's living anymore. He's got the most wonderful, kind eyes. Philosopher, one of the first people to really, I think he was a professor in the U.S., and one of the first people to really, write scholarly texts on meditation. The first book I ever read on meditation when I was in college was called Conquest of Mind by him. So, and this is actually a 2-volume set that goes through the Bhagavad Gita, and it's really illuminating, really fascinating. So he talks about this passage here. I just thought I would read a little bit. The Chandogya Upanishad, one of the oldest of the Sanskrit scriptures, tells us about a young man named Svetaketu who has just returned home from the ancient Indian equivalent of our University of California. That's probably where he was teaching. Probably Berkeley, I'm guessing. Having completed his formal education, Svetaketu now wants to learn how to live. And he asks his father to teach him the secret of Brahman. So Brahman is this great I am in the Indian perspective. In reply, his father gives him one of the greatest spiritual formulas anywhere in mystical literature. Tattvam Asi, that thou art. Brahman, the supreme reality, and Atman, our real self with a capital S, are one and the same. This is a difficult concept to understand, but the Upanishads bring it out with a vivid image. They say that this very Brahman, who is beyond all change and limitation, has brought all things into existence as a spider spins her web out of herself. It is not so much a process of creation as of emanation. A spider doesn't need to go out to a yarn shop and buy fine silk thread for her web. She has everything she needs right within her. Similarly, the creative power of the Godhead, or Maya, spins out the cosmos so that a little bit of the Godhead is present everywhere. Sri Ramakrishna will say that these two, Brahman and Maya, the Godhead and the power that creates and dissolves its creation, are inseparable, like fire and its power to burn. We cannot imagine fire without the power to burn, or the burning power of fire without the fire itself. Similarly, Sri Krishna is reminding us it is just as absurd to talk about the cosmos as separate from God, who is present everywhere and in every being. So kind of like the eddy and the ocean, this is using the fire and the burning power of the fire. So I just love that passage. It really brings forth what that is. So thou art that. You are that. So again, we can sit quietly with just these few words. Be still and know that. Tattvam Asi. Thou art that. Be still and know that. So unity principle number 3 tells us we are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. I've actually heard some people say that in a certain way that's a little problematic, because if we're co-creators, that means we're separate. There's 2 of us, right? So I've heard other people say that a better way perhaps to interpret it is simply that with God we are creating, together as one. There is this creation that is emanating from us. So now we move to be still and know. And again, I wanted to share a passage from a favorite book of mine. This is by Thich Nhat Hanh, Living Buddha, Living Christ, which is really mostly just these comparisons of phrases. So he has a beautiful way of looking at this idea of being still and knowing. He says, be still means to become peaceful and concentrated. The Buddhist term is samatha, stopping, calming, concentrating, so just like that context of the psalm. Know means to acquire wisdom, insight, or understanding. The Buddhist term is vipassana, so vipassana meditation. Looking deeply means observing something or someone with so much concentration that the distinction between observer and observed disappears. The result is insight into the true nature of the object. When we look into the heart of a flower, we see clouds, sunshine, minerals, time, the earth, and everything else in the cosmos in it. Without clouds, there could be no rain, and there could be no flower. Without time, the flower could not bloom. In fact, the flower is made entirely of non-flower elements. It has no independent individual existence. It inter-is with everything else in the universe. When we are still looking deeply and touching the source of our true wisdom, we touch the living Buddha and the living Christ in ourselves and in each person we meet. That is why the practice of meditation, looking deeply, is so important, or this practice of being still. We must recognize and accept the conflicting elements that are within us and their underlying causes so that we can eventually have peace within. And only when we have peace within can we have peace without, around us, and in the world. When we allow for this knowing that is revealed through these practices of being still, then we can acquire inner peace. And then we can have peace in our relationships, our work, and in the world. Be still and know. So now we can move to be still and. And when I got here, I was like, how wonderful to just leave and out there. Be still and, right? That opens the door to every possibility. Usually we like to end our sentences with a period. I've been attending this church in Lawrence, and they have this phrase that they use a lot that I guess is pretty universal, but I hadn't heard it before. Don't put a period where God has put a comma. Isn't that great? And we're putting periods all the time. I'm never going to be happy. My spouse is never going to X, Y, Z. I'm never going to have time to do whatever. I'm never going to be able to travel. I'll never whatever. So instead, we don't know what's coming. Sometimes life turns around like all of a sudden, today, tomorrow, things are totally different, Grace falls out of the sky. So when we say be still and, it's like first we just quiet ourselves, and then we just say and let whatever might come forth. Unity's 4th principle says through prayer and meditation we align our heart-mind with God. So for me, this is about that. When I'm not in control anymore and I'm not trying to fix everything and striving for this and striving for that and just sitting with that great and, then I can allow God to start working that mysterious whatever. And all kinds of possibilities come. So when I was in college, I didn't attend any particular church. I was dabbling in different kind of spiritual literature, but I used to do this thing where I went to KU, and I would just go out into the country, and I was a city girl as much as Lawrence is the city. We didn't really venture out that much. We didn't even go to Kansas City. We just had our little town there going on. And so, but every once in a while I'd just drive out into the country and just find a spot to sit. I was probably trespassing, cross over some little fence and just sit in someone's field. And no matter what was going on in my life, however chaotic things seemed to be, or some paper coming up and I didn't know how to approach it, or fighting with my roommate or whatever, when I would go out there and sit, 20 minutes later, everything was clear. Everything was clear, everything was simple, I knew exactly what I needed to do, and it wasn't like I tried to figure anything out. I didn't go out there with any intention at all, other than to sit. And I didn't know I was meditating, but really that's pretty much what it was. I was just sitting and letting nature be around me. So I think of that when I think of this be still and. I was opening up to that possibility of and. I didn't have to fill in the blank. So then we can move to just be still. So Thich Nhat Hanh said in that reading that I just read, be still means to become peaceful and concentrated, to stop, to quiet, to let go of our mental and physical activity, to pause and breathe. So some people ask me in yoga class why we always do shavasana, that corpse pose where you're just lying on the ground like that, at the end of each class. And some people say it's to absorb all of the benefits of the practice that we just did, which is true. But if we remember that second Yoga Sutra, yoga is the settling of the mind into stillness. So really all those physical practices were just created so that we could sit more peacefully and calmly with less distraction in meditation. So it's just working out some of that mental and physical activity so that we could be quiet. So Shavasana allows us to be in that stillness. We've done our practice, and now we're just going to be in stillness for a while and let us, our minds and our bodies become familiar with what that feels like, because we don't, a lot of the times, even know what that feels like. So Shavasana allows us that possibility. There's a beautiful quote that BJ actually found and put in your programs from Leonard Bernstein, and I found the full quote, and I thought it was really perfect for this particular part of the talk. Stillness is our most intense mode of action. It is in our moments of deep quiet that is born every idea, emotion, and drive, which we eventually honor with the name of action. Our most emotionally active life is lived in our dreams, and our cells renew themselves most industriously in sleep. We reach highest in meditation and farthest in prayer. In stillness, every human being is great. We are then free from the experience of hostility. We are poets and most like angels. So this beautiful stillness. It is here in this stillness that we might know God. Just be still. And then we just come to the word be. So I have a great story that goes along with this word be. I may have shared it with you. Some of you may remember. When I was going through my cancer treatment, and this is pretty early on, I'd had to be moved into another home. There were boxes everywhere. It must have been after surgery because I couldn't move very well. I had a big slice in my belly and, a living room full of stuff. The house had been remodeled for me, which was a huge blessing, but the kitchen wasn't done and the floor was still being laid down, and boxes with, not really neatly packed boxes, just stuff that people had thrown in boxes, full of cobwebs and who knows what. My living room was just full of boxes, and I couldn't hardly move. So I wasn't really able to deal with all this stuff, and I was used to being on top of things. So it was really challenging for me. And most of the time during my treatment, I had a pretty good attitude, but that day, I woke up cursing God. I was not happy, and I was full of, why me? I didn't do anything to deserve this, and why me? And this friend of mine came to the door to bring me some food. People were bringing food. And she said, how are you doing? And I just lost it. Oh, blah, 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 all my poor me's and all the things I couldn't do, I guess, and all my frustration. And she just listened very quietly. I'm sure it was more than she was expecting that morning. Listened very quietly. And then she said, Cindy, it sounds like you get all your worth from doing. Don't you think you're worthy just being? Don't you think you're worthy just being? Yeah, BJ's like, wow. That's how I was like, what? When she said that to me, I mean, literally, it didn't make any sense to me at first. But it's something that has stayed with me forever. And it's true. We get so much of our worth out of, accomplishing this or accomplishing that, or this person telling us this, or meeting this societal norm, or whatever. But we don't have to do any of that to be worthy. Doesn't mean it's not worth, going out there and trying to make the world a better place. That's great. But that doesn't change our intrinsic value. We are worthy just being. And last week, I think it was, I'd had a kind of chaotic day, and I sat down to meditate. And at first I was like, okay, I need to focus on my breath. Okay, I need to do this. Okay, I need to quiet my mind, which is what we think meditation is all about. And then suddenly I realized, no, I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is just sit there and be. Easier said than done sometimes. But in that particular moment, it was like, oh my gosh, what a great gift. All I have to do is be. So that's this final component. Be. That can be its own meditation. And it's a good thing to remember. All I have to do is be. The fifth unity principle says says wise action. So thinking wisely, acting wisely, speaking wisely, in ways that align with the truth we know. This being allows us to do that. Just being, believing in our worth, knowing that we are of value, just being, allows us to step into that wise action and thinking and speaking so that we can go out into the world and be a calming presence and make a difference. So let us every day make time to be still and know that I am God. So I'm going to sing you a song that is its own meditation. So there's not going to be a separate space. The song itself is going to be the meditation. It's called Be Still and Know. I didn't write it, but I wish I had. So I'm going to offer that to you now so you can just get yourselves comfortable. And if it's comfortable for you to close down your eyes, I invite you to do so. Taking in a few deep breaths. Letting the stillness, the quiet within and around you just settle in to your being.
Rest in my loving arms, for I am watching over you, ever present, ever true. So be still, my soul, be still, and know that I am God. Dear soul, be still and listen for my voice. Rest in my peace, knowing how much I care, for I am watching over you, ever present, ever true. So be still, my soul, be still, and know that I am God. still and know, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and be still. Be still and know that I am God. And as you are ready, you can open your eyes. Perhaps looking around at all the awesomeness in this room.